Good evening, buongiorno, everybody. I'm seeing people logging in from Canada, Portugal, Greece, Canada, UK, Oregon, London, Sri Lanka, even. Look at that. Look at that. We're gonna fly right in. Today's session, number 24 already, is about writing and improving lyrics. It is not an exact science, but there are some tools that can help you improve the way your song feel, to get rid of the bit juvenile rhymes, constructions that aren't working with the cadence of the song, how to build uh, a story that is interesting to listen to, because that is actually the essence of a good song. It's a good story, or it should be ultra catchy, or both. So let us dive in right away. What's on the menu today? There's the big question: is there a method to all of this? Yes and no. You'll see. How to build your story arc for a song and how to apply that to a structure. How to deal with rhymes. How you can use association as a creative tool for your songwriting. Um, how to write something literal versus something ambiguous or layered, something that can be interpreted in many ways. And I received an interesting case from Jim. We're going to use a song that he started to write. He got stuck on it, and let's see if we can continue and see where it's going. So, since nobody's complaining, I think sound is okay. I see people from California and Germany checking in. Hello, Carlos, as well. Best advice I can give you, especially if you haven't written 10, 20 songs, is write a lot and write a lot of shit. Excuse my French. With this, I mean, some writers even say you have to write the crap all out of you, out of your system, and then the good stuff comes. Well, it's kind of how it works. Your first songs will be kind of crappy. You will start a lot of unfinished projects, so don't think that this one song that you start to write, this is going to be it. It's gonna go slow, but I will put a lot of effort in it. No, lower your bar. Know that you're going to write a very simple thing, very crappy thing, even. It's okay that it's crappy, and you set that expectation at crappy level. It's going to help you, really. Another important factor is inspiration. Inspiration cannot be forced. Inspiration will come to you from places in times that you did not expect. It's always useful to have something to write close to you, a little notebook or something like that, or a little recording device to quickly capture your idea. Perhaps you even already have a vocal melody in your mind. You can record that. It's a valuable tool. With smartphones these days, most of them have a recorder on it, audio recorder. Know where to find it. Press record, blabber everything you have, and you can filter and tweak later on. Has doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure that you capture it, because if you think that you will remember it, you won't. You will forget. So try to capture it on the moments that surprise you, because those are the best things. How do you approach this? Well, writing lyrics is just as learning how to make music. How are you are learning guitar, and you start out with copying songs, and perhaps later on you learn to adapt it. It's something that I really support you to do, is to adapt songs, to make them your own. The loyal listeners and viewers here will know that that's one of my missions, to make sure that you got the skills to make songs your own. Same thing with lyrics. First, you go check out what your masters, what your big examples do, and try to mimic their styles. Um, then you can adapt, put your own things in it. Then it's only loosely inspired, and it could be just a trigger that somebody else has written, that you use as a trigger, as a seed to start off, or later on you can even start from scratch, from nothing. Who knows? And just as um, I teach you to make songs your own in layers, not from the beginning till the end and perfect from the beginning till the end. No, in layers on top of each other. Starting with general structure. What is it about? What is the story arc? What are the chunks? How do I feel these? How do I follow a certain cadence of the song? And how do I polish in the end? It's once again, it's in layers. You need to know where your song is going in the beginning. It is no use to applying a certain structure or certain rhymes and polishing if you don't know where it's going to end. So, what could you do to start writing a song? What does that mean? First of all, I think it's valuable to think about what will the mood and the theme be? What do I want to convey? How do I feel? Will I use this? Or do I think, well, I'm going to write a song and it's going to be fun? It's going to be a fun song. Well, it's perfectly possible. Um, is it silly? Is it serious? Is it emotional? I can tell you, writing silly songs first is a good exercise because you already open to certain things, and if you want to make it emotional, which is often a first a logical step to start to write from your emotion, you'll notice that you find it often hard to put these things into words and to really express the nuances that you feel. And something silly can be a lot easier to do. Telling a silly story can be an excellent exercise for songwriting. So do consider that. Um, Also, it could be a classical story. Go check out what is it a certain book? Is it a movie that you've seen? Is it an old poem? It can be a classic work. It can be the seed for your inspiration as your mood. Um, could be a certain movie, a certain war movie, for example, and you think, oh, this was an interesting character. He didn't or she didn't have a big role, but I'm going to write a song out of his or her perspective of all these things happening. Could be possible. Um, I think easy themes to start with are a certain call to action or a statement, something you want to bring against the settled establishment, and an anti-war song, a protest song. These are usually um, they come easier to write, but it's harder to put a story arc in them. And then, last but not least, expressive and impressionistic. With this, I mean, are you um, writing strong feelings that you are bursting out and you want to put in words and you want to proclaim them in a song? Or are you more describing the nuances of the things that you see, that you feel, and how does that all work together? That's more the impressionistic thing. So first, try to figure out what kind of song do I want to write. Um, is it serious? Is it fun? Is it one of all those things? And that can be an excellent exercise. Finding one of your favorite songs and checking out which of these songs is it a classic love story, a classic historic story? Is Are my favorite songs, are they silly songs? Are my favorite songs very impressionistic song that describe a lot of senses? Um, what kind of songs are your favorite songs? And try to figure out why. Yeah, does that matter for you that they have those moods, those feels, or is it pure coincidence? Could be, could be. It's a valid answer, but it makes you think about these songs have certain appeal to me because songs like from the band The Madness, for example, they are often quite silly and sometimes absurd, and that could be the reason why you actually write these songs or you like these songs. As I mentioned before, basic storytelling is what your song is all about. Um, you're making music, and your lyrics have a vocal melody and they are part of the music, but they carry a story. And if your story doesn't go anywhere, or nothing happens in your story, or the evolution is too slow, then it's no fun to listen to. And you'll notice that as soon as you come into a flow of a song and you start to listen to the lyrics, it is easier to keep on listening. And as a musician, it is easier to create a report, a connection with your audience. In one of the previous sessions, I talked about creating a link with your audience to exchange energy. And if they can recognize a bit of them in your song, it will be easier to make this connection. So writing songs about with stories that are either very intriguing and making people interested, or writing songs in which people recognize somewhat of themselves, that will be easier to create a report and to grab your audience. Basic story structure: you have a beginning, something happens, and then you have an ending. Sounds simple, right? Well, many songs I've seen from people that I worked with that had some lyrics to show, had lyrics that didn't really go somewhere, very static. There weren't real stories, nothing was really happening. It was a lot of description of how is the situation, next verse, how is the situation, and I was no evolution, no crisis, no turnaround, nothing interesting happens. So beginning, something happens, end. Keep it in mind. So if we would put it in smaller pieces, most stories have a structure of one, setting the scene. There is a certain crisis. Then with the crisis comes a realization, and the character in the song needs to develop, means to change, undertake certain action. It resolves, and there's a new status quo. There's a new scene. There's a new stable situation. That is a blueprint of a good story, and not every story is like this, but you will notice that 99% of the stories works like this. So if you're wondering what would my song be about, this could be a template that you could use in something to make it happen. Could be one of those themes. You can interpret this in any way that you would like to. What does that say in song structure? Well, your first verse will be your setup, painting the world, how's the situation. The second verse could describe what's going on, and your chorus is actually the essence of the song. If there is one thing you want to convey people, of a certain truth, of a certain feeling, of something they need to do, this needs to be your chorus. And then you can use bridges to you can use that exclusively to describe a lot of impressions, or the perspective shift happens in the bridge, which thematically works great because a bridge is usually some completely different flavor in a song that grabs people's attention again, and then can roll into a verse or into a chorus again. So apply it to a certain story. That could mean our song, our first verse. It's about a small town. Man with a suitcase. There's a train coming. Description. Second verse. What is this man doing? Talk more in verbs. You start to talk more in action, or certain realizations or things that go wrong. He's taking a journey. The journey is both symbolic as literal, through the geography of the map. The chorus is about the truth. Um, the person has been chasing dreams, has been running. What's going on? And then a verse that follows could be something, um, after this crisis of where do I need to go? Now I land somewhere and I found a new piece. And how did this piece come together? And why is that? The bridge could be the description of how this realization came to be. And then the chorus is there to reinforce the truth of the song. What was this one message? Even as an optional outro, you could say, um, the the most classic one is "and they lived happily ever after." Could be something like that, but it could just be we just with teenage dirtbag when they say I got 2 tickets to Iron Maiden, baby. That is not literal, but you know that, oh, in the end the girl is actually asking him out, and they feel like they discovered that they're actually quite the same, and okay, all will be good now. That's what you can conclude. This is when your story ends. So make sure that you have a certain arc like this, a certain stable beginning. There's a certain crisis or realization or an instability. The character needs to evolve. A perspective needs to change. Things happen, and there's a new ending truth. There's a new stability. That can be an excellent template. And you'll notice that it might sound a bit one-dimensional. You will notice that a lot of the stories, and especially a lot of the movies that you see, all comply to this structure. So a good exercise could be take some of your favorite songs, and instead of just reading the lyrics, check out what happens in each block of this song. And you'll notice that first one will often be a lot about senses. What do people feel? What do I hear? Stuff like that. Very descriptive. How is the status now? The second verse will often have stuff happening. So try to figure out what that is. And for the chorus, you describe what is a simple truth. What is the one thing the songwriter wants to say to me when singing to me? What is one thing he or she wants to convince me of? Could be a lot of things. If you say, how do you think, how do I need to build a structure for a song? Well, there's a very basic one uh, that always works. Start with a verse, then a chorus, verse again, chorus again. See, there's repetition within repetition, and ending with another chorus to reinforce uh, the message, and ending with another chorus is a way that people know, okay, you emphasize it, but now I know it, and it's been enough. The song is done. You can extend on that by creating a little intro. An intro is a complement to setting the scene, but musically. A second verse before the chorus to already start to introduce this crisis, or if you think, and I really need to do some world building here, then you can create a second verse, then this chorus, a verse, and then a bridge between choruses, or right before the second chorus, stuff like that. There's no law, there's no fixed template. This can just help you in structuring your song. By the way, this is a typical template my band and I use to start off a song. They don't always end up like this, but many of them do, because it's a form of expectation management. It's a form of people feel comfortable because they know it's going to come, and that helps in telling your story. So I see people here. I was thinking to write at least a song from a long time ago, but I don't feel talented enough. Well, talent, Carlos, talent is, as said, practice makes perfect by on time here, and it's true. I started the session with write a lot of shit. You don't become a great guitarist overnight. You don't become a great singer overnight. Same thing with writing. Don't expect that. You will play shitty, you will sing shitty, and you will write shitty at first, and it will come. But some nuggets of that, some of the ideas you can revisit later, just as your music. And perhaps after this session, seeing some of the examples, doing some of these exercises, you might find some new inspiration to do that. So don't worry too much about it. And if you write poems, can we use our poetry and turn these into songs? Of course, of course. Your poems will have a certain cadence to it. You will be reading them in your head or aloud at a certain cadence, in a certain tempo. Yes, rhythm. Rhythm is still king also in lyrics. And if you already have this cadence in your head, this could be the framework for the music that you put on top of it. But in poetry, we will come to that. You'll come into rhyme schemes, and there's a pitfall of certain rhyme schemes and how little you will rhyme. And perhaps you need to be a bit more symbolic, or drift a bit of the literal rhymes. But of course, I think if you have some experience with poetry, you're already a step ahead. And um, if you start writing something and you don't know yet, I'm going to write a certain story, but I'm not sure if it's going to be uh, a song or poetry. That's good. That's good. The the actual delivery isn't the first step. Thinking of mood and story and what is going to happen and what is one thing I want to tell people, that matters far more than whether it's a song or poetry. So yes, by all means do that. I would like to write songs but cannot sing. Well, Hakim, um, team up with someone. I think a lot of musicians will be happy to have lyrics delivered to them, and you can go in a combo. You writing and Elton John, he didn't write his own songs. There was I think Bernie. You have to check the movie Rocket Man. It's awesome. It's about Elton John, and there's a bit of a dynamic uh, between his songwriter and himself. And there you see that they one is in the spotlights, but the other feeds the genius. So find your Bernie. Find your Bernie. All right, let's go on. We talked about choruses, but and verses, but what about no such dynamic? There are songs that have no choruses. There are songs that have no clear verse chorus structure, no bridges, and Dylan does that a lot. But what he does is, and that works especially good with protest songs and songs with a call to action, is writing a verse, could be long, could be short, and ending it with the same line. The times are changing, or the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Very typical Dylan stuff. Verse ending with the line. Up, next verse, and then you can write five or just three verses, whatever. You can go along. The downside is you have a risk of boring people. If you're not interesting enough or your message isn't powerful enough, they won't make it through the song. So don't make it too long, or make it really good. But if you're still writing shit, then don't make it too long. Check your classics, of course. Check out your classics. I want to steer in these exercises also, in going there and looking at them, not just reading the story and what happens, but also the the way they do it. How do they rhyme? How do they structure? What is the message they say in the chorus? How do they emphasize it? How literal versus how layered in messaging? And you'll see that many of your songs, many of your classics have an evolution. Subject is going from zero to hero, or from hero to zero. There's a certain situation of trust, and there's a crisis. There's betrayal. Somebody is lost and then found. Stuff like that. Um, with a longing that it's been released, and there's a struggle. Um, or like Dylan does a lot, working with snapshots of things happening and putting them after each other in these impressions. And you can also check out which perspective. Is it you telling a crowd? Is it a bystander that does it, like in Tom's Diner? That it's a waitress that observes the situation and all the little scenes that are going on in the diner, and that's what she's talking about. The song doesn't have a strong, doesn't have a real evolution, and that might be lacking, but it's compensated by a kind of a hypnotic droning of the music, how the music is working, how the intervals, and it's very recognizable melody, and it really hypnotizes you a bit. Could be from the standpoint of the villain, like in Run to the Hills from Iron Maiden. He switches between the evil conqueror, um, and it's something I like to do in our band as well, switching between the bad guy and the good guy, bad guy, good guy, but speaking from a bit of a first person. We are doing this is good that this happens, and then it's the other people, oh no shit, we have to run to the hills. So could be like that, or the narrator telling a story all the way through. Nothing wrong with that. So study your masters to check it out how they do that. They all have their styles. I mentioned Dylan because I said he has a stream of feelings, impressions, puts them next to each other, but it can be really rude and sardonic and tells things in ways that you can interpret in many ways. Uh, like when he sings uh, it's typical to describe people on the margin of society as certain archetypes, as certain gestures, as it doesn't just call them addicts and lowlives, but gives them all different labels, um, making their status a bit more mythical, stuff like that. Paul Simon is more of a polished guy. He's witty with words. He even changes words to things that don't exist. Like when he says, "For a pocket full of mumbles," mumbles that isn't even a word, but you the pocket full of mumbles it's like it comes from marbles. But the, look how he plays with words and how he gets me to philosophize about it. So he's very precise with describing emotions. He's very good in finding these little subtleties that make the difference between this kind of emotion and this kind of feeling and how this is happening. So, is there rhythm in lyrics? Yes, there is. And the main clue to keeping this cadence, keeping it natural, keeping it rhythmic, is keeping it conversational. And by this, I mean write as if you would speak like that. Try to write as if you would tell the story and say it in words to somebody. Write it that way. Don't go making don't try to sound smart and expensive with words that you wouldn't use in your active memory. It's more you have the luxury of finding other words when you're writing and scrapping and changing, but don't go using words that you wouldn't go use otherwise. Sometimes you need to find another synonym that you might not accurately use, but that you know of, and you don't have to look up the word. That's okay. But don't go and construct things that you wouldn't say, because it will never be easy to sing along. It will never sound natural. And keeping it conversational is keeping that natural. That is, of course, the next logical question: do I need to rhyme? And that's what I mentioned with the part about the poetry. You have rhyming poetry and not rhyming poetry. You also have half rhymes, slant rhymes, and we'll come to that. Do I have to rhyme? No, you don't have to, but it can help. It can help. And check out some of your favorite songs and check out which rhyming schemes they have. Perhaps your favorite artists have their own way to do it. The most forward thing is the AABB form. That's the I write a line and the next one rhymes to it. Then I might make a new line. That line rhymes to it. Um, it is the most straightforward thing. It is also the most predictable thing, and it is also the construct that where you have the biggest risk of sounding like you're doing kiddie rhymes from basic school. And I don't mean anything wrong with that, but changing that up a bit can already fix a lot of that. That, and of course, not all the pure rhyming, not all the literal rhyming. So what you can do, and that's something they do in pop and rock a lot, is instead of going from AABB, going ABAB, writing a line, writing a new line, writing a third line, which actually rhymes with the first line. So that's A B A, and then a fourth line rhymes with the second line again. So if that works for you, you can see that in colors. Your first line is yellow, your second is green, your third is yellow again, the other is green again. Um, that gives you a sequence from the beginning to almost the end of the third line that really feels like a natural conversational story without actually a rhyme going on. It's only from the end of the third line that you notice that, okay, there's a little rhyme going on, and then expectation management, predictability will say, okay, this fourth line will probably rhyme with the second one as well. But you have almost three lines that have almost no rhyme in it, and when you write conversational there, it will feel very natural as a spoken story. If you do AABB, then you're quite rigid. Then you have only um, a maximum of two lines where you can achieve this freedom, and then people know, okay. I lost my sound for a second. It should be back again. Okay. Oh, I'm seeing some questions. What's some technical issues? What about David Bowie's style or Buddy Holly near the end of his life, style beginning to change? Yeah, people, artists, they don't stick to one style. They have a long life, I hope. They often do, and a long career. Um, and you can speak of early and late Bowie, early and late Dylan, stuff like that. Um, if you're into Bowie, he has some very layered stuff going on. Like Space Oddity is a very good example of trying to write stuff that may look literal at the surface, but can be interpreted in so many ways. Because of a certain choice of words and atmosphere. Um, some other things should be started by the guitar chords. Well, I was thinking of including a part about applying chords to it, but I need to box this episode into lyrics only because we will go way over time. Perhaps that's an idea for next time. Uh, Classic idea, of course, is to have a major key for a happy song and a minor key for uh, a less happy or a sad song. But those are very classical constructs, and turning these things around could give you a bit of sarcastic, ironic twist to them as well. Okay. So, structures. Another structure that gives you even more freedom is ABCB, for example, or ABCA, um, where you have three lines with no rhyme going on, and then it's just an ending line that reprises one of the previous lines. It could be ABCA, ABCB, or ABCC even, if you want to. What you see in more jazzy songs is an AABA structure, and you all know the AABBA, the limerick style. Um, I have an example here somewhere. The exercise for you could be try to write something in typical AABB form. If you tried some basic songwriting, that was probably your go-to structure to go to. Now take those lines and switch them up a bit. Instead of going AABB, change the order so it becomes ABAB, and you will notice that it you start to break it open. You feel like there's more freedom. It will sound a bit more mature. Don't worry too much about a sequence that is not completely correct in your storytelling that can be tweaked. But try to do that on some of your older material, or try to start out with an AABB if that's easy for you, and then switch the lines around and becomes ABAB. Does it become more interesting? What happened to the story? It could even happen that by doing this, you actually created a bit of mystique by making the the timeline of your song less linear, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially with a chorus. Know that a chorus does not need to adhere to the to the whole storyline. It is the underlying message. It could be something that has importance in the beginning of the song or has to do with the evolution towards the end, and that way it could serve as a teaser to the conclusion of the song. Or it could be something that happens in the song, some elements that you combine into a strong message. So I mentioned rhyme. You could do perfect rhyme. They say fire, desire, light, night, ground, sound, blue, you. You have heard these things a lot before, and if you try your first rhyming poetry, you probably came across things like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but as mentioned in the previous slides, if you write your rhymes like this, A, B, B, try to switch them around a bit, go to A, B, for example, uh, and that could already take a bit of that kiddie quality of your rhyming. I'm not completely um, judging AABB for me here, but it will be very hard to uh, write a song that feels sophisticated if you try to stick to this AABB form too much. You'll have to be creative with other things like your timing, with syncopation, with how your syllables land, um, to make it sound interesting if you stick to AABB. Oh, I'm clicking too fast. As I said, those are perfect resolutions. You risk to sound mature, and you also risk to lose the conversational factor because of the tightness of it. So keep that in mind. That conversational factor. The how would I tell this story just like I'm telling stuff to you right now. You have straight up, straight pure rhymes, but you can also use half rhymes. Like in this little limerick I quickly wrote together, a songwriter scratching his head kept mixing blue words with red. He jotted a line, then scraped the whole rhyme, and now he rhymes in monochromatic instead. What you notice here is the words in blue, head, red, instead. They are pretty close in rhyme, but line and rhyme, mm, line doesn't rhyme end with m, with an with an m clank, with an m thing going on. So line rhyme, that's only a half rhyme, and still it works well. He jotted a line and scrapped the whole rhyme. That works. That's because it's a half rhyme. It will sound more conversational. It sounds more open, and especially mixed with some more tight rhyme, it people won't even notice that you're doing half rhyming there. So some of the slant rhyming, they only catch a part of the sound, same consonant, same vowel, but not both, like I did here. Another great example is Eminem and a lot of rap music. Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. And so sweaty, heavy, already, spaghetti, even spaghetti. There's two T's, but in English you say spaghetti. You don't say like in Italian spaghetti. You don't say that. You say spaghetti. You don't say sweaty. You say sweaty. You say heavy. You say already. And these things are close enough, and they work well. Sweaty, heavy, already, spaghetti. It's like a flow of words. While if you see them on paper, they're completely different. But because of this slant rhyming, it works great. And Tupac is being mentioned here as well. Um, I'm not that much into rap music, but those guys are masters in this kind of slant rhyming. And as a study, as an exercise, checking out some random raps, some lyrics there from songs is a very good way to discover uh, these these scans, these powerful broad lines and the emphasis that is on certain of these words, especially in the endings. And often they do that within the line several times, and they dare to repeat words. It is in general songwriting. I will not advise to repeat too much words, but they get away with it because the flow is the rhythm. That's the rhythm in lyrics. If you ask me if there's rhythm, yes, rhythm is king, and that's how they create rhythm. So excellent study material. Grab some Eminem lyrics. Another great example, I think, which does two things. One, there's slant rhyming going on. Two, there's no A or no A B, but ABBA style. It's not the Swedish band ABBA, but A. First line and last line they rhyme, and second and third. Karma Police, buzz like a fridge, police fridge. It is even quite apart, but it works so well here because man and math. Rest is man, he talks in maths. That there is some flow there, and then they encapsulate that with what's between the Karma Police, buzz like a fridge, police fridge. So that is some very creative songwriting there. That at first sight you might even notice. It took me years to notice. I always been a Radiohead fan of certain of their songs, and Karma Police was certainly with them. But it was only when I started to write songs myself that I noticed what was going on here. And there's often hidden gems in artists that you might underestimate doing stuff like this. Um, I've been mentioning Dylan a lot. I am not particularly a Dylan fan, but he is said to be a great songsmith, and that's because he has such great examples. How does it feel? And then his flow starts. Then his flow starts. To be on your own, no direction home, like a complete unknown. He even ends it on the same way. This is how he keeps his rhythm going. With these rather close slant rhymes, he keeps it going. Who is Dylan? Yeah, that is a philosophical question, of course. Who is Dylan? Bob Dylan. But perhaps grunge isn't. If you're a Dylan fan, grunge might not be your thing, or the other way around. If you're into Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, you might notice that this one is pretty obvious, but it's no clean, simple rhyme. Um, with the lights out and how here we are now, um, it's pretty apart, but it says dangerous, entertain us. Do you hear dangerous? It's one word. Entertain us is two words, but they make up the same rhythm. Dangerous, entertain us. You see it going on in an A B form here. So for literal versus layered or ambiguous stuff, it's a fun exercise to do. Take a literal thing that you see, that you hear somebody say, and try to mask it in mystery. That's fun. Uh, First thing that came to mind to me that was very explicit is I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Johnny Cash, of course. But how could I rewrite this that it becomes more interesting? How can I rewrite it in a way that it could be interpreted in a lot of ways? Is that I took him under my wing in doing evil things, that I brought him to the underworld, that I, what could it be? I took him to the shadow. I took him to the darkness. Only I could see because I was the only one there and I caused it. This death that I bring upon him is something that I and him could only see at that moment. So that's the shadow that only I could see. That could be a way to mask it. And look how mysterious this becomes. I took him to the shadow only I could see. Um, Another example could be Ricky Martin late 90s, Living La Vida Loca. Uh, what looks like a flat pop song could become a mysterious song by Jim Morrison and the Doors instead of just living the crazy life. Could be running through this wonderful madness. Uh, I am the wonderful madness because I live it. I am. I live so I am. I think so I am. Basically, same thing, right? So you can wrap these very little literal things that you write. You could rewrite your literal things into this kind of mystery. Make yourself feel like the Eagles or Bowie doing stuff like that. How do you do that? Association. Associations are the bread and butter of the creative mind. Associations are the first thing that you come up with, the things that you hear something, you see something, and it triggers you to a new word, to a new thing, a certain feeling. That's associations. That's a hard word in English. Sorry, my English is not my mother tongue. Um, But what do you think of when you hear to kill? Here, to take to the dark place, to take under, to snuff out, to deprive of life. All these things. What do I what do I see? I see darkness, I see graveyards. What do I smell? I smell a stench, I smell dust, I smell nothing. What do I hear? I hear eerie sounds, I hear screams, I hear absolute deafening silence, stuff like that. What do I associate with all that? Could be skulls, could be anything. That's how you work in graphics as well. You associate certain things with a certain team, write them down as much as you can. So, for La Vida Loca, mad, crazy, foolish, a rat race, running around, unstoppable, chaotic, all these things, they sound very energetic if I tell them like these, and they're not literally the same. These are not synonyms, these are associations. These are things that your that's how inspiration often works. You play ping pong with it. Something comes to you and you bounce it back. And then you think, oh, but that triggers me to do this. And that's why it often helps to do this in pairs. Um, or when I say inspiration comes on unexpected times, it's because the first step always comes from somewhere else. You could think that it came from within you, but you were probably triggered by something else, a movie, a story, a smell. My deepest, oldest memories go back to when I was about 2 years old, I think, and they get triggered by smell, not by a story that I hear or an image that I see. It's certain smell that take me back to a certain daycare that I was. So use that information. As I said, use all your senses to associate. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you smell? What do you imagine hearing, tasting, smelling? All these things. Use those things and link them together. I mentioned the Eagles because of this. Their first verse is one, they're setting the scene. We mentioned that. And they use a lot of sensory information. What they feel, what they sense. On a dark desert highway, they see darkness. Cool wind, they feel the wind in the hair. The warm smell of colitas rising up to the air. Colitas, I had to look it up. It seemed to be marijuana butts. So the warm smell. What do they smell? They see in the distance a shimmering light, a head that feels heavy. It's very, very sensory. But this helps you getting your audience into the scene where you want. Where do you want to take your audience from where they are to into your story? Sensory information, especially in that first verse to set the scene, is a classic way to do that, but it works very well. So, exercise could be the stuff that I showed you with Living La Vida Loca, and I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. How do you get there? One, pick a seed, something you start with. Start doing these associations, connect your associations, and rewrite and make them land on your song. How does that work? Example, ocean. Ocean Everybody knows what word means, but what does it trigger for you? What kind of emotions do you associate with the ocean? What kind of visual information do you associate with the ocean? What kind of verbs can you think of? Doing, swimming, sailing, drowning, sinking? What kind of people uh, do have a certain relation with the ocean? Sailors, mermaids, wanderers, travelers, navy men? And what kind of metaphors does the ocean represent? The endlessness, the silence, the mystique, the the life that lives within it that nobody can see, invisible lives, stuff like that. So all these metaphors are very valuable for your songs. Write them all down because in the next step you will making connections floating towards an horizon. The sailor battles the waves. The longing, my longing is like an endless ocean. The endless is the endless deep triggers my fear. But it can work in a poetry kind of sense, but it's not really feeling like a song yet. So you can start to rewrite some of these lines, making these connections. Drifting to a crawling lifeline. The lifeline is the horizon. It is my lifeline. I'm grabbing to it and always reaching for it, but never really reaching it. So I drift eternally to it. Um, a sailor I associated with a sailor. He has rough hands. So I went from people to what kind of things the sailor has: rough hands, and they clash with waters that never grow tired. And you can go on like that. Um, Rewriting some of your associations, those combinations, will make you come up with things that sound a bit more mystique, a bit more layered, a longing wider than the endless ocean is something like that's for a ballad. That's for a cheesy 80s style ballad, perhaps. But then keep on sinking, so will your fear. Could be some very sardonic way to say, I wish you to the bottom of the ocean, but you won't be afraid anymore. Okay. Frank Zappa, perhaps. Who knows? So that would bring us to these lines, put them next to each other. I'm not going into that because I still want to show the example. But you can check in the notes. The notes should be under those links here. Voila. I see Isabella saying, how do you know which scale to choose when starting a song? Well, that's a musical question. I have to box this outside this session. Perhaps a later session can be interesting about applying lyrics directly to a certain mood of music and how to achieve the musical mood. Um, Carlos asks, are you able to write in non-mother tongue language? Yes, I write songs in English. Dutch is my mother tongue, but French and German would be very hard for me to write songs in. It would take me a lot of time to get through these steps of the process because a lot of them comes by nature. By doing that, being very conversational in English, you can be conversational in songwriting. If you are not very conversational in French and German, it's also very hard to write the songs. So try to avoid duplicates, the same words in the song, because people will notice. Um, they won't think it's fun. I don't like it either. If I notice that, oh, I wanted to say the same thing and I use the same word, I will check for synonyms. There are tools online to check for synonyms. Nothing wrong with that. You often get a long list. Use ChatGPT for synonyms as well. It's a great tool for that. Um, there are tools for B rhymes, half rhymes. Also, AI tools very good for that. Um, to make you come up with half rhymes. Um, AI tools aren't very poetic, but as I said, they can be your ping pong sandboard where you throw stuff at it and they bounce stuff back. And you can bounce stuff to that again. And that's why it's a good tool. It won't deliver you ready made stuff that you will be happy with, but it's a great tool to be ping ponging with. Ping ponging with, but use it for that. So, what does a good chorus look like? It is the essence of a song is there is one thing that you want to say to your audience, one message you want to them to remember. It should be in your chorus because you will repeat it, and you will even repeat the message within the chorus. It should be easy to sing. It should contrast with the verse so that people wake up again. And if it's very long or very complex, scrap, scrap, scrap. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Good examples of this are "We Will Rock You," we will rock you." Everybody knows that. Why? Because it's only that. They repeat it, it's simple, and they literally made it the anthem of the audience. Genius. Let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom. What's the wisdom? Let it be. Exactly that. No woman, no cry. That doesn't mean that if you don't have a woman, you don't need to cry. No, no. It means no woman, don't be afraid, don't cry. It is a comforting message. And that's the essence of the song. I'm here to comfort you. No woman, I'm here to comfort you. Don't worry. That's what the song is about. If he sings, don't worry, diddly diddy, about a thing, well, no woman, no cry is the same message. Brings me to the case of Jim. So let's apply some of that wisdom to a song. Jim was so friendly to send me a little case. He was stuck on a song. One, he thought that it sounded like another song that he already knew. Don't be alarmed by that. It will happen, and often it is in the ear of the beholder. Um, Often you will only hear it. Make somebody else listen and think it's the same. No, because to me it sounded like a different song a bit, but even so, not hard enough to say, "Oh, stop, it's the same song." Absolutely not. um, there are certain chord progressions. He already had a certain melody. I'm not going to go into melody right now, but he already had some kind of melody that might sound like it, but it was because it was similar to other songs, and there's nothing wrong with that. Along as you go, your song still evolves. Your lyrics will live, your song will live. So don't worry too much about it. And if it, in the end, sounds too much like something else, then it was good exercise. And you can still recover those lyrics and try to put them in a different form. So don't worry. And he got stuck. He got stuck. And this is what he had. I left my place in the frigid north, moved down south as far as I could go. I enjoyed the sunshine and the warm green waters of the Gulf of Mexico. That's pretty good setting for first verse. I came down just for a visit, ended up staying about 25 years, and that's where the lyric ended. Okay, that's cool. I think there's a good pace going on. There's a syllable structure that needs a little work, but not too much. I've seen far worse than that, even from my own. I am not perfect. Nope. There is some sensory info, like the Eagles example that I gave to you. What does he feel? What does he see? What does he hear? But there could be some more to set the scene. Just some doubtful cadence in some places, but it has. I keep that open because all depends on how is it going to land in a rhythmic cadence. But it's missing main part. It's missing a story arc. It needs to speed up. There needs to be a crisis. Something needs to happen. Even the second half of this the verse, second verse, the first half of it. Came down just for a visit and ended up staying about 25 years. Nothing is really happening. It's still a bit linear. Okay, pretty good start actually for the song. Um, so story arc is one. What is the status quo? Uh, well, actually, something is already happening, but that is the basic state in which the subject is. He's traveling. So goes down, goes to the south, he enjoys it there. There's a status quo. There's a little change and realization. Doesn't need to stay at the north. No, all good. Verse two, he stayed for a while, but then that's when the lyric happened. And in the mail, I saw that Jim was saying, well, but actually, it describes my life a bit. And after moving from Buffalo, New York to Florida, I went to West North Carolina, and that's what triggered my imagination. So he moved on again, back north. That means you didn't find what you were looking for in the south. There were no answers there. So you start looking around. So my impression was the subject is looking for peace and answers. And the realization here, so crisis, not getting peace, realization, I can't find this peace in all these places that I'm looking. And then there's some interesting symbolism. Perhaps a pragmatic shift is needed. I need to look around, but not in geographical places, but within states of myself. And I thought, yeah, state is a fun word because I've been traveling states and I have several states within myself. Perhaps there's something I can do with it. In the end, you'll see I didn't really do something with it, but it was an interesting idea. It was a sidestep that we could do. And I like the thing of sunshine in this song. That is something that we can all we can all become happy by the right amount of sunshine on our face, warming that bit, feeling that energy. Now that's something I can do something with. So where can I find this sunshine and can I make this symbolic? So I left my home. He was talking about. Let's go back. He's talking about north. I moved south. Yeah, to me that felt like saying the same thing two times. You don't need to. If you're north and you're moving away, then it's probably south or some of the other directions. But the exact opposite is south. So what do I do with it? Let's go back here. Let's put me in a real place, some place. Oh, you said Buffalo. Where is Buffalo? It's next to Lake Erie. Why not describe Lake Erie as a frigid thing and the frigid lake? And as a listener, I go to, I live next to a lake, but it's flat. There's a lot of wind and it's cold there. So I roll down south and then roll. Yeah, that's instead of going is so generic. Try to use other verbs there. You're doing something, and by rolling, what does that mean? Is it literal rolling by train, by car, wheels that roll, or 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 are you rolling out? Um, that kind of sense. As far as I could go, that was gold. As far as I could go, that was gold. I did not have to change that. Then that's the sunshine thing. So I went for the sunshine. Briefly felt the sunshine, and I specifically say briefly here because I want to emphasize that I feel it, but it's only temporary. So I left somewhere and I felt the sunshine. Sunshine, what does that mean? Does it mean happiness, warmth? I felt warmed, which was briefly. And that's reinforced by the line that follows waded warm green waters. Okay, it was warm as well. So I like to wade in warm water that feel comfortable around me, going through water, but it's also warm. So that reinforces the sunshine thing. Um, and there I used a bit of a rhythmic play. Waded warm green waters, waded warm waters. I did the rapid thing there of the Gulf of Mexico. And that's why I started with a literal place in the beginning because he ends with a literal place. It is the literal going from one place to the other, but it tells a should be back now. So while he still was having confidence and hope and he was having a quick fix, then needs to come the crisis. So this soothing climate, it was no salvation. The realization is there. I ended up searching far again, and I made far purple here again because there can be a certain emphasis on it. Far, far away. I drew my map. That's very symbolic. To draw a map could be getting your map ready, drawing a map, drawing a plan, making plans, looking forward. But I lost my compass in the symbolic meaning that is, uh, I don't know where to go. The compass says where you can go, but I had no direction. I did not know what to look for. These illusions that he had slipped like sand. So it came to the realization, and now there's a story arc going on. From, well, I'm very confident I'm going there, I'm going to find my happiness, and briefly I have it, but I notice, no, it's not happening. Why is that? I thought I was going to find it. No, it's not happening. And then I thought, okay, this song needs a chorus, and I was having a real country vibe. And remember that I said use short choruses. I actually made a long one because are there certain rules? Are there certain templates? Yes, there are some guides, but it doesn't always have to be like that. If you want to be convincing, strong message, have a short chorus. But if you really want to enrich your story, you could tell a little story within a story, and that's what I did here. Within a story with this chorus. Mountains climb, waves will roll, the endless plains house many souls. And that means there's a lot of people living on the places I'm going, and I've seen a lot of things. And the forest they whisper where I need to go. What can I do? Some physical things, moving myself. I can build a house and a bed. I can lay my head. That's the nod, the nod to Dylan uh, and the Rolling Stone, stuff like that. But home is found in the hearts that I know. This is where I emphasize look, you can go wherever you want, but if you seek warmth, you will find it within people, not in places. And that's what the song, for me, should be about. It's a random idea. Jim, I don't know what you think about that, but it's a random idea. Do with it what you want. So, what I did in the last verse is I made an opposite. I made a mirror, the new status quo. I took the first verse, and my last verse would be a mirror image. He left his home, frigid Lake Erie. No. The last verse says, I find my home in warmest people. I know where to find warmth now. It's in people. Roll down south as far as I can go. Stressful, going fast as I can. No, I, this is inward. This is close to myself. I keep my tribe within myself. Briefly felt sunshine. That was a quick fix, but now I'm always looked for above gods or whatever, stars, and below me, the earth or people buried, whatever. It was a symbolism, and then the Gulf of Mexico. That's one particular place. No matter where I go, I take these people and their warmth with me. So that for me was a good wrap up for a story for somebody who's traveling first in geographical nature, but then goes looking within his feelings, within his hearts, and is traveling there. So, Jim, I applied some of the tricks that I applied, that I talked about in the session. Um, some have to do with rhyming, some have to do with symbolism. Hope you like that. What you need to do if you think, oh, I can use this, rewrite some of the stuff, find a way to fit the syllables over the cadence of the song that you had in mind. I took some freedom there. I had some melody in my head, but I don't went too deep with it. I can discuss it with you later if you want to. But be free with this yourself. Don't taint it by ideas that I would have musically already. Know that lyrics can live, that while you work on it can change, and that's how it happens. Next step, applying it to music, you will still need to change some syllables, perhaps change out some words that fit better, stuff like that. So before wrapping up and talking about the next session, let's see quickly. There are some questions. What about band lyrics from rock and roll 1950s African American writers? Well, if somebody ever banned the book, then try to find out why that was. there 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 is probably a great story that precedes the banning of that book. So find out what the book is about and use it as an inspiration. It's bound to be gold actually for songwriting. So yes, I like that kind of exploring nature. Oh, what is this? Something very specific, something that intrigues you, that you should follow that. That's cool. couple of musicians recommended that I compose music, for example, with acoustic guitar, and then sing and hum something. Yes, we didn't discuss that, but singing nonsense lyrics to explore the vocal melody is a great way. As said, we have a structure of a song, we have certain blocks in which things are happening. Perhaps you have certain a feeling or melody I want to explore, and then singing la la la's, oohs, whatever. It doesn't constrict you in how to form melodies and how long your notes can be. That can be an excellent tool for you to write a vocal melody. Um, to keep writing what you know, have feel, experience yourselves helps in writing songs. Yes, Jim, indeed, there is Jim, but also discuss that putting yourself in a different perspective be really can be really enriching as well, and just imagining it. A song does not need to be the truth. What do you imagine that somebody in that perspective feels, thinks, hears, whatever? So songs don't need to be the truth. They need to be a good story. Let's see. Yes, the file is here. I'll drop it for a last time. Okay, for sessions. What do you think about the picking of abstract words, then building from the type? So, yes, you could start your creative process around certain words, start building a song from that. Uh, that will be that will take a lot of craftsmanship. I think that's something that will come easier to experienced songwriters. I can do it. I wouldn't even start with that. But there's no rule in it could be some words that you hear or say or the combination that triggers certain atmosphere that can create the context of the song you want to create. But then you're back to my step one. What is the mood of the song that you want to create? And then I would go to those. I'm not saying that you should follow my steps, but I think they're very, very logical and pragmatic. Thanks. Yes, I enjoy these sessions doing them for you. That mirror line technique, yes. There's a famous book to write songs. I don't remember the name. Yes, um, I read it. It's somewhere in the cupboard behind me. I'll have to look it up. I'm pretty sure which one you mean. And it starts with describe your senses. It starts with setting your scene. Um, Much of what I've told today can be found in that book as well. But it's been 10 years ago since I read it, I think, and I've enriched now with emphasis that I put in this story. Um, Buying or reading a book about songwriting is valuable because it will hand you some more techniques, also on rhyming, on structure, on uh, perhaps going some deeper on the musical part, stuff like that. So, by any means, yes. Okay, guys, let's wrap up. It's been an hour 13 minutes. A lot of information. A lot of it is in the Google Slides, of course. It's not all written out, but I hope you enjoyed it. It can spark some inspiration if you're stuck with your lyrics. Jim, especially, I hope even if you take the song the whole different way, at least I gave you a Kickstarter for a song that has been in the fridge for a while. Um, Pair up with people to exchange ideas. Perhaps what I always found liberating is writing music to another one's lyrics and vice versa. That that really avoids the constraints that are already floating around the song. Um, Keeping the recording device on paper or the voice recorder close to record random ideas because inspiration will strike at times you cannot predict. Um, okay. If there's any questions, leave in at justinguitar.com. Next session is in September, will be about joining a band or forming a band. What do you how do you approach this? What do you need to be able to do before you can join or start a band? How do you attract people? How do you keep them happy? How do you keep them showing up? Which I think is the most important thing in a band. Have your people show up if they can on time. But showing up and making music is the most important thing. A lot of that, a lot of the other things come from that, and practical stuff like that. So it's going to be a real fun session. I will use some examples from the band that I've been running now for 12 years. Yes, um, which had been some changes in lineup and in styles and how to promote stuff like that. We're no big famous band, but the goal, if your goal is to become famous, then you might need to set the bar a little different. But if your goal is to express yourself and have fun and explore stuff, then yeah, a band is awesome. So, okay. Thanks a lot, guys. There is a thread about this on the Justin Guitar community as well. You can ask your questions there. And not only me, but also other people with songwriting experience or just good ideas and insights will jump on that and answer your questions. So you've been great and a faithful audience, and I'm truly appreciative of that. I really enjoyed doing these sessions. See you next time.